When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
All right, hello guys. We're going to be talking about Arya Stark in this video. This is the second time I've recorded this video, but we're going to be taking some questions from the YouTube channel and the community post I put out and the Instagram posts that I put out on Instagram. So if you guys want to be a part of these videos for any future ideas or topics, subscribe here and watch those community posts. Usually put those out once a week. And then also Instagram is probably the better one because you'll see it more and it doesn't remove comments like YouTube sometimes does for some reason where I can't see them. So yeah, let's get into today's video with Arya Stark. So getting into the first question from Hatim from YouTube. They say, Arya's storyline after Storm feels more like filler. Do you think there's going to be a love storyline like the original plan George had in mind? So personally, I think the point that you hit right on the nail is like, Storm of Swords is definitely like the bigger part of her journey, right? It's a lot of the payoff. It's a lot of the early stuff to getting her to where she needs to be later in the story. And so the problem with that becomes in Feast for Crows and Dance, it's a lot more about building up this character. Who is she going to be going forward? Developing those skills. So when we see her maybe assassinate this person, or she's basically playing Assassin's Creed, right? Where she's hiding in the shadows, stuff like that, or blending into people. How is she able to do that? So that's what those books are going to be about. That's why she only has like 5 chapters between both books. So for me, I look at that and I go, yeah, a lot of that is not going to be the heights of the earlier books. Now, with that being said, I don't think there will be like some sort of love storyline between like Arya and Jon, for instance. I just never got that vibe from the two characters, and I really hope that's not something that happens. So for me personally, I would say that's probably not going to happen. Another question that I have from Maz on Instagram is, do you think the Ghost of High Heart's reaction to Arya was for events yet to come? Yes, I do believe so, Maz. So what we're basically talking about is when Arya goes to see her, she gives a lot of like prophecies more or less that have come true, like the Red Wedding, like Renly's death, Balon's death, a lot of that stuff she kind of predicted. And so she has this really big reaction to Arya, knowing that she has death on her and she is just terrible. And so I think part of that is part of that reason is because she is going to become a faceless man. She's going to be killing a lot of people, presumably. She's going to be involved in a lot of that work. So yeah, I think that is for things yet to come and a bit of that foreshadowing. So 2 questions that we have that are somewhat similar, so I'm going to kind of group them together. But Taylor says, do you think Arya will be the one to end Lady Stoneheart? And then also Crossland asks, will Arya actually take out House Frey or will it be Lady Stoneheart? So let's just talk about the Revenge Red Wedding here with Arya specifically. So I think personally Arya is going to be involved in the Revenge Red Wedding, almost similar to the way she was involved in the Red Wedding the first time, where she's not like a major factor in like the atrocities happening. I think she'll be like trying to get to this event, see what's going on, and then she comes in kind of towards the end and she sees what her mother has become. She's become this Lady Stoneheart figure that's taken her revenge to the next level. A lot of the people at the wedding were not involved with the Red Wedding at all. And this is going to come off, I think the way George is going to write this, if it happens, is going to be more like this is brutal slaughter. We're going to feel for some of the Freys that maybe didn't deserve it because they supported Rob's campaign, or they didn't have any involvement in what happens here, or even just other people that we somewhat think are okay. I think that's the way it's going to come off. So I think Arya will not be the person really that takes down House Frey. I think that's going to be saved for Lady Stoneheart. Could Arya kill like a Frey? Maybe she could kill one of them, one of the major ones or something like that. Maybe she gets to kill Walder Frey. It's possible, who knows. But I think her main part of that event is going to be more or less killing Lady Stoneheart. I think she sees everything that's happened. We've had a lot of foreshadowing on, again, even Arya's alias being Mercy, and we've had this idea of Mother's Mercy. I think, to me, it makes a lot of sense that Arya is the one that kills Lady Stoneheart because you can do so much with her character at that point, right? because Catelyn, or I should say specifically Lady Stoneheart, and Arya are very similar at this point. They're two characters that are almost completely motivated by revenge and getting their vengeance and killing those people that did them wrong. In Stoneheart's case, it is the Freys/Lannisters. In Arya's case, it's kind of the same, but there's also more people in there and specific people outside of just a house, where it's like Lady Stoneheart more or less is just on two specific houses. So they're very similar in the way they're motivated. And so I think Arya seeing her mother, the way she's been torn down and how she's not even close to what Catelyn used to be, I think it will change Arya quite a lot. And the way that I think, you know, she's going to leave Braavos kind of plays into that, right? Is there going to be this mission that she's given, and that's why she goes to Westeros, that she has to kill someone? I think notably it could be Dany, because they don't like the Targaryens, the dragons are back, faceless men, and the Targaryens, old Valyria specifically, have a pretty bad relationship, and we kind of saw parts of that in the story that the Kindly One told to her. So yeah, I think there's a lot that could be really interesting with that. Another question we have from Finn on Instagram is, how do you see Arya and Sansa reuniting in Winds? And then I also had a YouTube comment, and thankfully, since I actually had to re-record this, I actually got to specifically name drop you. But Caesar of Rome asks, I hope I'm not late, but do you think we'll see her reunite with her mother or Sansa? I think she's going to reunite with both, actually. So let's talk about that. So Sansa and Arya are going to probably reunite either at the very, I would say the back end or the very end of Winds of Winter, or at the very beginning of Dream. Because I think when you look at the characters, there's a lot that still has to happen with the Eyrie plot, right? Littlefinger has to be taken down probably by the end of this book. You have a lot to do when it comes to the idea of Arya has a lot of stuff. She has to go from Braavos, then presumably the Riverland stuff, and then you also have the North coming back, the Eyrie. So I feel like all of our characters kind of just merge into one part of the world around the neck region of Westeros. And I think, you know, it's hard to predict how they're going to react to each other. I personally think it'll be more positive. I think they're going to realize they have flaws with each other and some grudges, but it's your family. I mean, these are two people that there's not much of their family left that they know of at this point. So I think for them, it's going to be this really impactful moment. It should be really awesome to see. And I think that'll be interesting, right? Like, will they, you know, there still will be things that they're going to have some disagreements on. So I think that'll be interesting to see how it plays into it. But yeah, I think going forward, that should be a pretty cool relationship. Larissa asks, what do you think Arya and Nymeria's story will end up being? Arya, to me, is a character that I don't see her being like a lady type or anything like that. I could see her just being maybe like captain of the guard, or just being in some way, shape, or form like a Stark leader, more or less, as in like training people how to maybe fight or something like that. I can also see this idea of kind of tying it into Alyssa Farman, how she was trying to go west of Westeros, see what was going on there. I think that's also a very logical route with Arya's character. I think the show had the right idea with where to take Arya's character at the end. It's just how they got there was really bad. But I think that's a really good ending. I think Nymeria is a weird one, because I don't see Arya and Nymeria like teaming up again, like how it was the beginning of the story. I think Nymeria at this point has been a wild direwolf leading this pack of wolves for way too long, that I don't think she could come back to being like this pet animal. I don't think that's who Nymeria would be at this point. And I think it makes logical sense with the reflection of Arya herself. So I think Nymeria is probably going to die. I think it could be in the battle with the others. Maybe it's just some conflict in the Riverlands in which we see this huge battle by the wolves and the humans or the Lancers, and maybe Nymeria dies at this point. All that's possible. I do think, though, Nymeria either dies or she just stays kind of in the wilderness roaming, or maybe she goes north of the Wall. I could see that being a part of it as well. But yeah, so that's kind of my predictions for them at the end of it. And then we had one more from Chrissy. What's her end game? I can't really see her dying. How do you think her story will end? I think Arya won't die, but I think of like the main Starks, so like Bran, Sansa, Jon, Rickon even. I think Arya honestly does have the most likely that she'll die, just based upon what her role is now as being a fighter, being an assassin type character. I don't think she'll die, but I do think that, again, like I talked about, I could see some kind of loop back to the Alyssa Farman plot and that Arya is going to try to go west, or being some sort of captain of the guard situation for the Starks in the north could also be a position for her. Maybe even a master of spies or whisperers. That'd be cool as well for her in the north. I don't think she's going to like serve the crown or anything like that. I think she'll definitely go back home if she's not going west of Westeros. So that is all the questions and topics that people had for me. So I just want to, at the end of this, talk about where I think Arya is going to go before she gets to Westeros, because there wasn't much topic or questions on that area of Arya's storyline. So I think Arya, again, we come back with her character in Winds of Winter. We know that she's just killed someone that she shouldn't have killed, right? Because that's not the Faceless Men way. And so the last time that happened, they blinded her as her punishment. So what's going to happen this time? Because we know the Faceless Men are going to find out. They always find out. So Arya is just not going to be able to just leave. That seems like her plan. She just wants to leave. She's going to become Arya Stark again, and she's going to go back to Westeros. That's not going to happen. The Faceless Men are not going to let that happen. She's not going to be able to just defeat all of them. That doesn't make sense either, like how the show did it, where just, oh yeah, she kills the Waif, and then she threatens Jaqen, and all of a sudden she's free. It's like, that's not going to happen. So how does Arya get to Westeros? Right? Like, that's the key point here. She's not going to die. That doesn't make sense. So how do you get her from point A to point B? I think it's, you give her a mission that makes her go to Westeros so that she still can become Arya Stark, but she still has to do a mission for them, and then maybe she's released. And that mission is going to be killing Dany, in my opinion. I think there's other characters it could also be, but it makes sense just looking at Old Valyria, the ties the Faceless Men had to Old Valyria, and you look at Dany, it's basically the semblance of Aegon the Conqueror happening again. But this time, when you look at Dany, she's been conquering Essos. That's even more scary for the Braavosi, and specifically the Faceless Men, because they've seen how that affected the world before. So I think it could be Dany in a lot of ways, but I think that's the way Arya gets to Westeros. I think it's more that the Faceless Men allow her to do so. But then that ties in really well with her arc when she meets her mother. If she starts having a reversion where she's not about revenge and killing and all that stuff because of what happens with Lady Stoneheart, how does that work with her having to kill Dany, right? Is she gonna even want to kill Dany based upon the relationships? Dany would be someone I think Arya would look up to, given how, again, this was a show only scene, but it's something I think that also reflects book Arya, but like being able to know Visenya and Rhaenys, Aegon's sister wives, and how she kind of looks up to them in the show. That's something that Arya would do as well. So I think when you look at Arya, she's not going to want to kill Dany, I don't think, until maybe later on, if Dany starts to do things that Arya doesn't agree with, but that could test her. And if she doesn't do that, she's always having to look over her shoulder for the Faceless Men to come and kill her. That could be a somber ending, where you have Arya who maybe is maimed, or has some sort of PTSD over all the tragic events, given that we're going to see a war with the others, while also being extremely paranoid. That could be really cool. But thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.